just to test.
Yeah.
Can you hear my music? All right. Can you hear
Yes.
my metronome? Oh,
Yes.
do you hear my counting aligned with the metronome? 3, 4, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
Works
4,
really
1,
well.
2, 3. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Hey everyone, it's XP here. Welcome to the second video of the Zoom with Drums series, where we explore different ways to set up for online lessons. This week, I'm happy to report that online lessons went pretty well, even for students without a drum kit. Within just a few days, my drum school produced a great online syllabus package, and all you need is a pair of drumsticks. Check out this lesson snippet with my student Seong Ho. How do you find the online lesson?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I just need to. I have a justification to buy full drum pad.
What is that? What
This
exactly
is
is
an
it?
exercise kit.
What exactly do you use that for when you exercise? Oh, I've never used those. As you can tell, I learned something new this week. But jokes aside, to achieve progress during this lockdown period, there are two things we need. The first, clear learning objectives given the circumstances. In Seong Ho's case, it was to improve hand technique since he doesn't have a drum kit. The second thing we need is appropriate content catered to these objectives. In this case, hand exercises. With that being said, let's dive into the objectives of this tutorial. Today, I will show you how to send music, the metronome, drums, and your voice through Zoom all at once. But before that, do check out my previous video on various setups you can consider. I'll be building upon that tutorial and showing you how to use drum sample libraries to get even better sound. Our setup today assumes that you have at least the following: an electronic drum, a computer, a microphone like this one, an audio interface or similar device like this one, and necessary cables or adapters, which I've mentioned in my previous video. Now, to level up your sound even further, you'll need a MIDI cable, such as these regular 5-pin cables. Make sure your audio interface has a MIDI input. And finally, also a drum sample library such as GarageBand or Superior Drummer, which I'm using today. Some quick tips before we begin. On Zoom, you have to communicate as if you're on a walkie-talkie. In other words, only one person speaks at a time. So, for example, you can't have your student play according to your voice count or the click on your computer because of the time it takes for data transfer. This means that you and the other party must each operate your own click or music. The second tip was a great suggestion by Shannon on Facebook. You might like to go to your preferences, video, and untick this option, mirror my video. This will make your drum set look normal. The third tip has to do with security. In the additional settings, don't use the personal meeting ID function and always use password protected sessions. In the advanced settings, turn on the waiting room function to manually accept new participants into your meeting. Zoom just released an update recently, so be sure to update your client to the latest version. The final tip is how to troubleshoot if your video is freezing or skipping, like in this example. Your internet, is it okay? There's
Yeah, I'm seeing you really well and everything.
but for you, when I see you, right, I see you like this, I see you like this, I see you like this.
Oh no.
If this happens to you, go to settings and check the statistics tab to see whether you're overloaded. Your CPU or your memory may be overloaded, especially if you're using a phone or an older device. So you may want to close other applications on your device. Another reason might be that your bandwidth is overloaded. Look out for the send speed if your own video is freezing. and the receive speed if the other party's video is freezing. To be sure, check your connection on speedtest.net, and I will also link to more information about these statistics in the video and in the description below. Alright, let's jump into our topic for today. If you've seen my previous tutorial, you know that we can combine our drums and voice before sending it to the computer using an audio interface or a mixer. This method allows us to mix these inputs with sounds and music from our computer. All you need are the necessary apps. So for example, a music player like Spotify or a Metronome app. I'll link to some Metronome apps for various operating systems in the description below. Now, if you want to get even better sound, you can consider using your drums as a MIDI trigger instead. Meaning, instead of using your native sounds from the drum module, you simply use your drum kit as a trigger to produce sounds from computer software. Here's an example. To use your electronic drums as a trigger, instead of channeling out the audio, we need to channel out the MIDI data and send this into our audio interface. To send out MIDI data from your electronic drums, you will likely have to change the settings on your drum module, and this would depend on the brand and the model. For the TD17, you simply go to Setup and scroll down to MIDI. And the most important thing to note is that local control is turned off. For my audio interface, which is a Roland SPDSX sampling pad, I will have to edit some settings as well. So the first thing I should do is to go to Menu and Setup, MIDI. I will have to ensure that local control is off as well, and that both the soft through and USB MIDI interface are turned on. This way, both the MIDI data and the audio data from my microphone will be channeled into the computer. On your computer, you should have installed the necessary drivers as mentioned in my previous video. Now, with MIDI data coming in from our electronic drums, we need the right software to interpret these signals and use them to play what we call virtual software instruments, or virtual drums in our case. For this, I highly recommend Superior Drummer 3 or Easy Drummer by Toontrack. They're available on both Mac and Windows. They both sound great, and they provide automatic MIDI mapping for a huge range of electronic drum kits. I'll link to more resources on how to set up these software in the description below. For Superior Drummer, the steps are really simple. First, go to the audio MIDI setup to select your input and output devices. The output device in my case is my audio interface, and I would recommend lowering the buffer size to reduce the latency or audio lag. The MIDI device should also be selected, so in this case, my audio interface. Next, go to the MIDI in or eDrum settings to perform what we call MIDI mapping. This part is great, we just have to use a preset. In my case, it is the Roland TD17 drum model. And you're set. You can fine-tune the sound and response even further, and I'll provide some links to such tutorials in the video description. So that's it. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial and that in some ways it has helped you improve your online lesson experience. Feel free to leave any better ideas in the comments below. See you next time. Up, down, tap.
Okay. Up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down. Is it still cutting?
It's good, it's better now. Let's do our left hand. Up,
Okay.
down, tap, tap.
Up, down, up, down, no, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
You're dumb, right? You're dumb.
What's wrong?
It's just very funny.
What? What?
Do you have a roommate?
No.
Okay, that's good. Because you'll be wondering what we are doing.
Okay.